Hey guys, it's KJ from the Scariest Movie Ever channel on YouTube. I got a video here. I got some things I want to show you. And we're going to take a look at some very real possibilities. This is one of those videos where we're just connecting some dots and we're raising some questions. I've been seeing a narrative play out in the media for quite a while now regarding President Obama. And this narrative is the exact opposite of what's been playing out for President Trump. It's only been 9 months since Obama left the presidential office. And where in the past most presidents that left their office would kind of fade away into the background, at least for a few years, well, that same rule doesn't exactly apply to Obama. Can you tell me one time in history where something like this would have been okay? Before we get started into really delving deep into this, please understand that I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I am not a part of that false left-right paradigm. That being said, it's very important to pay attention to the narrative that's at play here. These are reality controllers. These are reality creators. We're looking at predictive programming, social engineering, even a bit of lesser magic. You see, all of this stuff is playing out for a reason, and it's incredibly important for us to pay attention to this and to understand the underlying message. Why is it that in all forms of media, Trump is being portrayed as the worst president ever? And not just as a bad president, but as a horrible human being. So remember, this is all a part of a narrative. There's a lot more at play here. This is a setup for something to come, in my opinion. And you'll be seeing more of this anti-Trump narrative, this anti-Trump dialogue coming out as time goes on. Because it seems that all of these different corporations that control a handful of the media organizations out there are anti-Trump. But the more you look into it, you'll realize, perhaps as I did, that it's not just anti-Trump as a man, it's really anti some ideas. It's anti-lifestyle. Because the media is constantly portraying Trump as some kind of a Christian. You can go to any search engine and just type into the search bar Trump Christian and you'll get tons and tons and tons of stories. So it's interesting. I see this in that narrative. On one hand, everything is Trump is the worst human being in the world. He's the worst president ever. And on the other hand, it's pushing how much of a Christian he is. And there's a reason for that. And this brings us back to Obama. So here's a story that just came out a few days ago. Obama and Bush launched dual coded attacks on Trump as former presidents denounced politics of division. And that's laughable. Because if ever there were divisive presidents, because certainly Trump is a divisive president, but are you trying to tell me that Obama wasn't divisive? Or that Bush wasn't divisive? Of course they're divisive. They are all divisive. That's a part of this two-party system. It's Coke or Pepsi, right? Republican or Democrat. It's all basically the same party anyway. They act as if they stand opposed on certain issues here and there. But as far as the bigger picture goes, all of these people are connected to the same secret societies. All of these people are connected to the Masons, or the shadow government. And the trick is that they keep us all divided over these emotional issues. I mean, it's just like football. That's all it is. Pick a team, right? They have to keep the people fighting and battling against each other. This is a part of that control mechanism. This also explains why very little gets done by either party when they're in office. So the headline could very easily be, Cousins Obama and Bush come out against Trump. So even more interesting, as we climb up this family tree, we find even more related branches. This is what happened when George Bush heard he was related to Bill Clinton. So the Clintons, the Bushes, and Barack Obama are all of the same bloodline. Now here's something really interesting from this article I wanted to share with you. I mean, it's already interesting that all these people are from the same bloodline, right? But I want to show you something else here. Look at the bottom. This is George Bush wanted to know more about Terry Hatcher. Apparently he's a fan of Terry Hatcher, the Desperate Housewives actress. So I find that paragraph very interesting. Let me show you why. So there's actually video of this, and it's typically kind of hard to find. There's one copy I found online. I went ahead and downloaded it, and I put it up on my own website just to make sure it's still out there. But George Bush Sr. actually had lunch with Terry Hatcher, and on this video it shows him kissing her, not like a buddy or a friend, but, something else. And then he pats her on the butt as he's walking away, flirting with her. So I'm not sure exactly what all that means. Of course, I'm not surprised there's a connection between Hollywood and politics like that. But it is very interesting, especially that George Bush Jr. was asking about Terry Hatcher as far as bloodlines go. So when you put it all together, it paints a very interesting picture. George Bush Sr. became president in 1989. So this means that for the last 28 years, America has been run by the same bloodline. Are you beginning to see a pattern here? Don't tell me this is just a coincidence. So again, this brings us back to Obama and the plethora of stories that are coming out about how great he is and how he's still coming back. He's not finished yet. Is all of this a setup for Obama to come back and be the president once again? There are some very interesting things I want to share with you and show you here. Now, first off, we're going to be getting into some pretty wild territory for some of you. Throughout the years, many of you have heard that Obama is the Antichrist. And I've covered this in a lot of my own videos as well. And there is absolutely no denying that Obama has an Antichrist spirit about him. But could he come back somehow and become president of the United States once again? Or the leader of the world in general? To redo a video showing all of the Antichrist connections to Obama, it would take hours and hours and hours to do. There are tons of great researchers and teachers out there who have done amazing videos showing all of these interesting connections with Obama and the Antichrist spirit. So if you're new to this idea, please seek out some of these videos, start doing your own research, and you'll see what I'm talking about. There's more than enough evidence out there to suggest that Obama is the Antichrist. But of course, once he left office and then Trump became president, a lot of people just forgot about all that. In fact, many people started to ridicule the idea, saying that there's no way he could be the Antichrist, he's out of the office now. But do we really think it's going to be that easy? And again, this is a video where we're really just questioning some things, connecting a few dots, and raising some possibilities. I got some really interesting things, though, to show you about Obama here moving forward. So for the last few years, you may have seen this, quote, conspiracy about 9/23, September 23rd. For the last few years, there have been tons of videos showing up on YouTube just before this date. All of them suggesting different ideas, but typically connected to the end times. Many people even believe that 9/23 would be the date of the rapture. If you haven't seen these videos, you can go to YouTube and type in 9/23, rapture, conspiracy, anything like that, and you'll see tons and tons of videos about 9/23, the date. Many people were convinced that something significant was going to happen on 9/23. And each year 9/23 comes and goes, and it seems as if nothing really significant ever actually happened. However, I did find something very interesting that did happen on 9/23 in 2015 that I haven't seen a lot of people talking about. So in keeping with the idea that Obama is in fact the Antichrist, many of us also believe that Pope Francis is the false prophet. Pope Francis is a Jesuit. Pope Francis talks a lot against Christianity, against God, and against Christ. We've never had a pope like Pope Francis before. It seems like every few weeks he's saying something else that just doesn't quite add up. So isn't it interesting that Pope Francis, the false prophet, let's say, visited with the Antichrist on September 23rd, 2015. And on this day, the false prophet and the Antichrist exchanged gifts at the White House. So this is the gift that Pope Francis gave Obama. It was supposed to be commemorating the 2015 World Meeting of Families that took place in Philadelphia. Now remember, most of everything these people do is coded. So oftentimes we have to read between the lines of what they're saying or what they're doing. If you're not familiar with your Bible, you should look up the Church of Philadelphia and what that means. Many people say that the Church of Philadelphia will be the people raptured. So it's interesting that they have Philadelphia here on this plaque, the Church of Philadelphia. And the images on the bell and the cross and everything around almost looks as if it's people rising up through the air. So now this is very interesting too. This is what the Pope gave Obama. The plaque on the right is called the Angel of Peace. But as I said, these people work in codes, in the occult, in the hidden, and before our very eyes. So I looked high and low for a really clear picture of this Angel of Peace. This is the best picture I could find. They say that the angel's trying to pull together different hemispheres of the earth. They also say that he's wearing armor because he's ready to do battle. But my question is, with the people involved, is this really what they're telling us? Is this really an angel of peace? It's a giant angel, apparently wearing armor. I've seen some people say they believe the arm right there is actually a dragon. Now, I'm not so sure about all of that. I still find these gifts very interesting, but there is something I can show you that is beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's very intriguing, to say the least. So for those of you new to this, once again, there's more research you can do into the Vatican, into the Pope, and all of the occult symbolism surrounding it, surrounding all of it. The whole Vatican, from the inside, the walls, the pictures, the paintings, to the outside structures themselves, are filled with occult symbolism. Going by, again, this thread that we're kind of continuing on, that here we have the Antichrist and the false prophet in front of a picture of what I believe is the birthing of the Antichrist, even the birthing of the Antichrist system. Because again, going back to the study of the occult and the Vatican, the picture behind them is representing, as far as I'm concerned, the Antichrist figure coming out of a woman's reproductive system, let's say. The birthing of the Antichrist spirit on the earth. So again, we're back to the original question. Could Obama come back? Could Obama be president once again? Well, we follow the narrative and we watch what he's doing. So this is very interesting. Obama's to host the first global summit in Chicago. Once again, this has to do with the one world order, right? Eventually the one world religion, the one world leader. Here we have Obama, that millions of people believe is the Antichrist. And now he's hosting a global summit in Chicago, and guess what day it starts on? It starts on Halloween. October 31st is the beginning of this global summit in Chicago with Obama. But how could Trump lose his presidency, right? That's the question. So obviously you see the narrative all through the media. We also see it in politics. Tons of politicians coming out constantly talking about impeaching Trump. There's another angle to this. Once again, you can go to either YouTube or any search engine and type in New York City tsunami nuke prophecy, any combination of those words. And you will find pages upon pages upon pages of people having dreams and visions for the last several years of something really bad hitting New York City, be a nuke, and then it's going to cause a tsunami. Many of us call this the event, the triggering event for the actual activation of the end time New World Order. Because there's pieces of this New World Order, this final New World Order in place all around the world. But there's going to have to be some triggering event to lock it all into place. And perhaps that'll be the catching away as well that's going to happen around this time, the rapture as some people call it. But what will be the event? Some people think it'll be a chain reaction of events. Perhaps it'll be everything being triggered at once, earthquakes, tsunamis, meteors falling from the sky, and the beginning of World War III. America being attacked, nukes popping off all around the country. At this point, all we can do is speculate and again connect the dots. And as I said, there are tons of people who've been seeing this New York City destruction for a very long time. So maybe that'll be the event. And now that the narrative's in place against Trump, and not just Trump, but what he's supposed to be standing for, which is Christianity and anything to the right, I feel they could easily put Obama perhaps back in place once all this happens. I feel it could be really easy for them to bring Obama back in and rest all of this destruction on Trump's shoulders. and by extension of that, placing all the blame on Christians, or anybody to the right, let's say, or anybody who doesn't buy this dogma, or anybody who doesn't buy all the deception of the fascist left. And then you have your real Christian persecution. They'll blame all these ideas for what happened. Anybody who believes in the Bible or Jesus or God, anybody conservative, suddenly they will be the enemy of humanity. As I said, guys, we're just connecting dots and we're raising questions. I'm not exactly sure how this may happen or when it's going to happen, but I find this all very interesting because it seems the narrative is in place. One more thing I want to show you about the Obamas. So here's a story that's really been making the rounds lately, and I would bet you dollars to donuts you'll never see it on the mainstream. But drag queen in satanic garb with horns read to little children at the Michelle Obama Public Library in Long Beach recently. And this right here is what that looked like. And this is real. This actually happened. Do you not see the problem with this? This is absolutely vile and disgusting. As I've said throughout the years, the biggest issue for me in living in this beast system is the attack on children, the attack on innocence, on purity, on real love. Going back to the idea that Obama is the Antichrist, this also connects with the idea that Michelle Obama is a transgendered male. Most of you watching my videos are already familiar with this subject, and you've probably seen enough information out there to where you're questioning this as well, that it could be a very real possibility. And I'm in that camp too. I put up several videos about this, because it goes beyond just being a transgender. Because here's your satanic connection once again. The Baphomet. Again, it's beyond transgender. This is the Baphomet. The Baphomet is a representation of the devil, Satan itself, and it's a transgender. It's given many names, and there's a very colorful history behind it. But it's as it is in the movies. Every time there's a representation of the devil in a movie or a TV show, what does it tell you? It always says it goes by many names. So you can get into the colorful history of all of these symbols if you like, and sometimes it's easy to get lost in. But what's most important is to always go back to the very basics, what it really stands for. Beyond all the colorful symbolism and all the different words and names, this is Satan itself. So we have representations of this now in public libraries, even with the horns and the transgender that are telling stories to your children. As I'd mentioned in the beginning of this video, we're connecting dots, we're watching the narrative play out, and we're questioning what the end game could be. These are very interesting times we're in. It's very important to keep an eye on such things. One of the reasons it means so much to me to watch the kind of things we watch is because it helps me in my own personal walk. It reminds me that so many of the things of this world in our own personal lives don't really matter. That what matters most, in my opinion, is to walk with God, is to have Jesus Christ in your life, and to try to follow His ways, to live in love, peace, and understanding, but at the same time to be watchers of the times we're in. So thank you for checking out the video. As always, I appreciate it. I'll leave you with that for now. So until next time, take care of yourselves, okay? I'll talk to you a little later.